The Israeli army was ordered on Tuesday evening to immediately carry out powerful strikes in Gaza, claiming that Hamas had fired on their forces. Ukraine claims strikes on Russia's refineries reduced Moscow's oil refining capacity by 20%. Kiev says the long-range missiles used were made in Ukraine.
Hungary has begun implementing the European entry-exit system at a land crossing with Serbia, with all other border points expected to follow suit by November 11th. U.S. President Donald Trump signed a new trade and rare earth minerals deal with Japan in his first meeting with the new Prime Minister Sanai Takaishi.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the army on Tuesday evening to immediately carry out powerful strikes in Gaza. The order tests the already fragile US-brokered ceasefire, which began on October the 10th. Eyewitnesses in Gaza City said Israeli military planes had begun launching airstrikes, with tank fire also reported. Israel claimed Hamas had earlier fired on Israeli forces in southern Gaza and also returned a set of remains that belonged to a hostage recovered earlier in the war. Israel called the return of those remains a clear violation of the ceasefire deal. Hamas subsequently said it would delay handing over another body it had recovered. Ukraine's long-range strikes on refineries inside Russia have reduced Moscow's oil refining capacity by 20%, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said. In comments published on Tuesday, Zelensky added that over 90% of those deep strikes were carried out by long-range weapons made in Ukraine. He said Ukraine needs additional foreign financial help to produce more of them. This comes as US President Donald Trump raised the stakes by announcing sanctions against Russian oil giants Rosneft and Lukoil last week. Those sanctions are due to come into force on November the 21st and carry the threat of secondary sanctions on foreign banks that handle their transactions. In response, Lukoil says it is selling its international assets. The company has stakes in oil and gas projects in 11 countries and has refineries in Bulgaria and Romania, as well as a 45% stake in a refinery in the Netherlands. Zelensky said he is hopeful that Trump's planned meeting with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in South Korea this week will lead to further reductions in Russian crude purchases.
Lithuania's Foreign Minister Kęstutis Budrys has called on the European Union to deepen its sanctions against Belarus in response to recent balloon incursions that his government has described as hybrid attacks. He spoke to Euronews hours after the Baltic country closed its border and instructed its military to shoot down cigarette smuggling balloons entering from neighboring Belarus.
If we cannot deter by denial, we cannot just deny our airspace and the entering, then we have to deter by punishment. And these leverages of punishment, these tools are sanctions, first of all. And the very exact and strong message, it is not allowed. And you will suffer damage for it, for what you're doing, because you are causing damage on our side.
Belarus already faces EU sanctions in response to its autocratic drift and complicity in Russia's war in Ukraine. But the foreign minister called for further restrictions on the country's aviation and banking sectors. The balloon incursions are the latest in a series of provocations which the West attributes to the Kremlin and its proxies. Drones and military aircrafts have also been spotted across the eastern flank and further inwards in Denmark, Belgium and Germany. Minister Budrys backed European initiatives to spend more on monitoring and shielding its borders from such incursions and warned Western European countries against complacency.
And if someone has doubts why to invest here, then that person or that country will see the consequences in their land, because it will go deeper into the Europe. All these provocations, as we've seen already, airports being shut down in Denmark, Netherlands, elsewhere, because of the drones. If we cannot counter it at the front line, it will go in this side. So it's time to invest it here and to build the resilience that can be then copied elsewhere in the continental Europe.
Voters in the Netherlands are gearing up for a snap parliamentary election expected to be a knife-edge race on Wednesday. One day before the parliamentary election here in the Netherlands, a lot remains uncertain. Speaking to people here in the political capital of The Hague, it appears that many just don't know yet who they will vote for.
Ik wil gewoon een goede beslissing maken. Ik ben echt een beetje te nauwkeurig en ik wil gewoon echt goed weten wat de doelen zijn, wie ik eigenlijk een soort van power wil geven, weet je.
Nu gezien de situatie in Nederland wil ik dat links aan de macht komt. Dus ik ga links stemmen, GroenLinks, PvdA. En normaal zou ik daar nooit op stemmen, maar nu is dat toch mijn keuze.
And that sentiment is also reflected in the latest polls. One poll from Saturday states that 45% of voters remains uncertain. The Party for Freedom, led by far-right Geert Wilders, remains ahead, but the next three biggest parties, ranging from center-right to left-leaning, are not far behind in the polls. That means that the outcome could still take any direction. Emma de Ruiter from The Hague for Euronews.
Hungary has begun implementing a new system for entering the Schengen area from Serbia at the Tompa-Kelebia border crossing as it rolls out the use of the European Entry-Exit System, better known as the EES. The new system now requires non-EU travelers to provide biometric data, including fingerprints and facial images, upon entry and exit from the Schengen zone. Hungarian officials say registration points have been set up at the crossing to allow people to register their details on the new system for future use. The new protocol will also gradually be implemented at the Röszke-Hargos crossing from November 4th and across all other border points with Serbia from the 11th.
A plane carrying mostly European tourists has crashed in Kenya's coastal region of Kwale early on Tuesday. The airline Mombasa Air Safari said a Kenyan pilot, 8 Hungarians and 2 German passengers were on board. The flight was en route to the popular Masai Mara National Reserve. The plane crashed in a hilly and forested area about 40 kilometers from Diani airstrip, authorities said. Investigating agencies are looking into the cause of the crash, which happened at 5:30 a.m. local time during a time of heavy rainfall. The aircraft burst into flames, leaving a charred wreckage at the scene, authorities said. Witnesses said that they heard a loud bang, and upon arriving at the scene, they found unrecognizable human remains.
U.S. President Donald Trump has signed a new trade and rare earth minerals deal with Japan as he visited Tokyo as part of his week-long tour of Asia. The new deal, hailed as the Japanese-American Golden Age Agreement, stipulates a 15% tariff on Japanese imports into the U.S. It also sets up a new $550 billion fund for Japan to boost its investments in Washington.
We very much appreciate the trade. We're going to do tremendous trade together, I think more than ever before. We're just signing a new deal, and it's a very fair deal, and we look forward to welcoming Japan into the United States and a continuation, and it's something that everybody is very, very excited about.
United States.
In their first meeting since Sanai Takaishi assumed office last week, the Japanese premier had only praise for the U.S. president, who she hailed for his peacemaking efforts and the friendly relations he shared with her mentor, the slain former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The new U.S.-Japan deal also established a framework to secure the supply of critical minerals crucial for the development of advanced technologies for the U.S. Trump will next head to South Korea, the last stop of his tour, where he'll meet President Lee Jae-myung, as well as hold highly anticipated trade talks with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping.